The Bible on Just War. This video is about the Bible's teaching on warfare. I wanted to make this video because I have heard some non-Catholics object to the Catholic Church's just war doctrine by saying that it goes against the Bible, and I think that's not true. So let's take a look at 5 places where the Bible supports the doctrine of just warfare. Number 1. St. John the Baptist and the soldiers. Luke 3:14. Soldiers also asked him, "And we, what shall we do?" And he said to them, "Rob no one by violence or by false accusation, and be content with your wages." This is perhaps the earliest indication in the New Testament that Christians can justly serve in the military. St. John the Baptist tells some disciples to accept their wages as soldiers, and therefore he implies that they may remain soldiers. He could not do that if being a soldier was evil. Number 2. Jesus and the centurion. Luke 7:2-9. A centurion sent friends to Jesus, saying to him, "Lord, say the word, and let my servant be healed. For I am a man set under authority, with soldiers under me. And I say to one, Go, and he goes, and to another, Come, and he comes, and to my slave, Do this, and he does it." And Jesus said, "I tell you, not even in Israel have I found such faith." This passage comes at a point in Luke's Gospel where Jesus is forming a community of disciples. A very significant person in this community was this centurion. His experience as a soldier informed his faith, because he made a favorable comparison between the authority he saw in Jesus and the authority he wielded over other soldiers. Jesus praises the centurion for his faith. To me, this indicates that Jesus was okay with at least one of his disciples being in the military. Number 3. Jesus on the right of armed defense. Luke 22:35-38. Before now, I sent you out with no purse or bag or sandals. But now, let him who has a purse take it, and likewise a bag. And let him who has no sword sell his mantle and buy one. And they said, "Lord, look, here are 2 swords. And he said to them, It is enough. This passage can be used to defend the right to armed defense, which is an important foundation of the just war doctrine. Jesus sends the apostles on a journey and tells them to take 2 swords. That is the same as telling them to be armed. There is evidence that this was for the purpose of defending one another in case the apostles were noticed by robbers. Thus, the right to armed defense is defensible from the teaching of Jesus. This is significant in the history of the doctrine of just war, because one of the principles of just war is that it ought to be fought for the purpose of defending against an unjust attack. The same reason that gives small communities the right to armed defense gives nations the right to armed defense. Number 4. St. Paul and the armed guards. Acts 23:12-31. When it was day, the Jews made a plot to kill Paul. Someone told Paul, and Paul called one of the centurions. The tribune called 2 more centurions and said, "At the 3rd hour of the night, get ready 200 soldiers to go with Paul as far as Caesarea, and bring him safely to Felix the governor." In this passage, St. Paul appears to respond to a plot against his life by securing himself with an armed guard. He informed the centurion about his danger, and the centurion provided him with an armed guard. This seems to be what St. Paul wanted, as the messenger he sent to notify the guard told the guard, "Do not yield to the Jewish militia." Verse 21. This supports the right of armed defense, which is an important foundation of the just war doctrine. If St. Paul could legitimately obtain an armed guard to secure his safe journey to the governor, then it seems to follow that it is not wrong to arm yourself against a possible unjust assault. If a group of people do that, then you've got a militia. If a militia serves under a national government, then they are an army. Number 5. St. Paul on the ruler's sword. Romans 13:4. The ruler does not bear the sword in vain. He is the servant of God to execute his wrath on the wrongdoer. In this passage, St. Paul teaches that the state has the right to use the sword, at least under certain conditions. This teaches several of the principles of the just war doctrine. For one, this implies that the government has a right to arm itself to defend its people, because the sword is a form of bearing arms. For another, the use of the sword in this passage is reactionary. The evildoer acted first. This is one place where the first principle of just war is supported. A just war ought to be defensive. As a result, this passage is one of the passages traditionally used by Catholic thinkers to conclude that some wars can be just. So there you go, the Bible on just war. I hope you liked this video, and if so, please stay tuned. I hope to have more videos up soon. Also, check out my website, historyandapologetics.com.